Preseason's upon us. We have all these training camps that have just started, and there is quite a few storylines to be intrigued about before the season starts. First of which we can't really answer the question yet. We know that the 49ers have officially moved off of Jimmy Garoppolo. Mike Shanahan said this in their press conference. That means they're moving on to Trey Lance. Trey Lance, somebody who they gave up 3 first-round picks for in a deal with Miami. And we will start to see very soon whether Trey Lance was worth those 3 first-round picks. I am a Trey Lance believer. He has a lot to build around, but there is a reason why he didn't play last year. There were some whispers about him not being ready yet. We could argue whether that was just to try to increase Garoppolo's trade value or not. But I really am intrigued whether Trey Lance will end up being the guy in San Francisco.
I mean, they drafted him thinking that he could be the next Mahomes. Like that was his pro comp, was Mahomes. Like he was really raw, and Shanahan can take that year with Garoppolo and just build his mind and build how he wants Trey Lance to play. So was it worth 3 first-round picks? That is yet to be determined.
Yeah.
I don't think he was worth 3.
If you get your franchise quarterback, I'll give up whatever, because quarterback, we know how important that is. We know as Dolphin fans how important that is. Tua, not quite been the guy yet. Dolphins, not quite made the playoffs yet. Trey Lance, if he ends up being your starting quarterback for the next, I don't know, just 10 to 12 years, it's worth 3 first-round picks. He has the athleticism. He has the arm, which is very comparable to Patrick Mahomes, which you just brought up. Can he put it together, though? Because Daniel Jones has those too. Daniel Jones is a fantastic runner, except for when he trips over the 30-yard line. He has a cannon of an arm, but he sucks.
But also the thing is,
and he was a 6th overall pick.
So with that, if you're going to compare him to Daniel Jones as well, Daniel Jones, I don't think he has the IQ to put it, the football IQ to really go out there, read a defense correctly, and do it. Yeah. Now, Patrick Mahomes, he said he didn't know how to read a defense until like halfway through his second year.
That's scary.
That's kind of like how much arm talent and just pure athleticism do you have to be able to do that? I don't think Trey Lance has that I think he does have a good head on his shoulders. So I think he could go and potentially be like a Josh Allen type, where he could suck at first and then slowly get better, especially once he's able to practice with Debo. Right now, Debo is at practice. However, he's doing individual workouts and individual drills until he gets his contract issue resolved, which the 49ers are hopeful. They obviously did not trade him like he requested. And what just came up actually in a memory was of last year when Xavier and Howard requested a trade from the Dolphins. So I'm hoping
forgot about that.
Yeah, that kind of gave me a mini heart attack because someone retweeted it, and I'm like, no, not again. And then I saw this in 2021. I'm like, oh, but they're hoping it's going to be like a situation like that where they're able to resolve it.
You need that wide receiver to help out your quarterback. We see with so many young quarterbacks nowadays that Trey Lance has his Debo, still has Mike Shanahan, a really good offense around him. He could succeed, but that's something that we will have to wait till the preseason games and beginning of the season to see. Something that we will likely get an answer for before the season starts is what's going on in Carolina. Who's going to be the star between Baker, Sam Darnold? We see the fans at the training camp chanting for Baker as Sam Darnold's walking right next to the guy. Like,
that's so disrespectful.
Feel really bad for him. But then they actually went into the training and Sam Darnold outplayed him. And Sam Darnold Sam Darnold on paper has a lot more to like, has a good arm. He's athletic. He's not controversial. He sees ghosts. So that's that. But
a little controversial.
That's not necessarily controversial, but Sam Darnold isn't the favorite. However, first day he went out, performed Baker. He's a lot more likable of a guy. So I will be very intrigued as to who is going to win out that starting spot. Who do you think is ultimately going to do that?
Honestly, I think it's Baker's job to lose. Sam Darnold had a year in that system, so he's been there. Baker's been there, a week? He hasn't learned the playbook. He hasn't learned the playbook yet. So Darnold's been there a whole year, had a whole other offseason with them and that staff. Nothing's really changed on that staff from last year to this year. And I think that it's really Baker's job to lose. If he doesn't go in the film room and study, we'll get to that later. But if he doesn't, get a good head back on his shoulders and work for the job, then it's Sam Darnold. I mean, he's obviously motivated. He went out there and proved it by throwing 5 touchdowns in the second day of practice. And meanwhile, I think he went 11 of 16 for, I didn't see the yardage, but it was 5 touchdowns and no interceptions. And Baker went 9 of 16 and no pads with an interception and no touchdowns. So given they might have different playbooks for each one, like, okay, Baker, you're not really the go route. Like, you don't have that arm to just throw over the top.
But he does. Last year he had the longest throw just in terms of air yardage in the league.
Was it him?
Yeah, it wasn't a completion, but it was the longest.
Oh, the largest throw. I think I was gonna say it wasn't the largest completion actually too.
I don't know, but no, Baker has talent. He has the arm. He's not athletic whatsoever.
I don't think he has as strong as arm as I think he's definitely more accurate than Sam, but I think Sam has a bigger arm.
I don't think that's true. I think Baker still does have the stronger arm, and that is one of the reasons why the fans love him so much, is because that looks cool. That looks cool on film when you can hit a deep pass, but we all know who Baker is, and who does the coaching staff trust? The guy who was there last year, led them to a 3-0 start, crumbled at the end of the year, or this new guy, Baker Mayfield, same draft class, a little bit of a head case. Both are like a 1-year type situation. I'm really intrigued to see who wins out that battle. Last preseason storyline. What's going on in Arizona? So Kyler Murray signs his extension. Cardinals fans, woo! Our guy got him over the line.
Ian Rappaport comes in.
Was until the entire world bullied the Cardinals out of it, requiring Kyler Murray 4 hours of study time, like he's a freaking teenager in high school before he can play video games. Which I kind of ironic, video games are involved because of him being a part of FaZe Clan and the gaming team they have there. Kyler Murray was originally required to have 4 hours of study time a week, part of the contract.
A day.
No, it was 40 minutes a day, which equates to 4 hours total of a week in preparation to each of their games. I was joking around with Zach at work yesterday. It's like he's gonna be watching game film from 2008. He's like, wow, this Ray Lewis guy is really good.
Did you see the Benchwarmer brand thing on him yet?
I don't think so.
Oh, you gotta watch it. What was it? That has the Cardinals knocking on the door. Hey, are you watching film? And he's like, yeah. And they open the door and it's Tamba Ali on the screen. It's like a Google image. And he's like, why do you have a Google image of Tamba Ali? Oh, we're playing the Chiefs week 1.
Close enough.
Well, that's not film. And then he looks up Tamba Ali highlights and he's like, Tamba Ali's been retired for 5 years.
I can't believe it's been really that bad with Kyler. I mean, we can see the Cardinals as a whole kind of have there is a underlying problem. Kyler has his limitations. Literally, he is limited in height, can't see over the freaking offensive line. They just gave him $230 million. Cliff Kingsbury so quickly went from coach of the year to hot seat last year, which he went into last season on the hot seat, quickly rose to coach of the year and quickly pulled himself out of that conversation. You're in the second hardest division of football. The West is really hot, both AFC and NFC. 49ers and Rams played in the NFC Championship last year. You don't get much crazier than that. That's your bar. NFC Championship is your bar because your 2 other division mates, they got there.
And one of them won the Super Bowl.
And that one demolished you Monday Night Football first week of the playoffs. So what's Arizona going to look like? Are they going to be the same team that crumbles? And yes, this isn't something that we can determine in preseason, but there's been so much around this team that we got to talk about them in the preseason because there's been so much happening. Are they going to be this team that succeeds for 6-7 weeks and then crumbles? Or are they finally going to be able to put stuff together and go forward into the playoffs and actually win a game at least.
Yeah, and do something on a consistent basis. But also, was the end of the season crumble because they didn't have Chase Edmonds or DeAndre Hopkins? They were both out at the end of last season.
Yeah, there's definitely aspects to it, but we've seen it 3 years in a row now that after week 10, the Cardinals are combined 7-20. That's awful. By any stretch of the imagination, that is a terrible statistic, no matter what team you are. So they have a lot to prove. They started to prove it last year, and then they just dug themselves in a hole. I expect them to be better. Once DeAndre Hopkins comes back from a 6-game suspension, they brought over Marquise Brown from the Ravens. They lose Edmonds. James Conner goes into year 2 with the team. However, he's had his injury issues. He didn't have a single game above 100 yards last year.
He had a lot of touchdowns.
He had a lot of touchdowns, 16 touchdowns leading running backs, which is pretty big.
He got all the red zone carries, and Edmonds got everything else. That was kind of their
him and Kyler. Kyler got a few rushing touchdowns too himself. Don't forget.
Yeah.
So, and Kyler did get hurt.
Kyler got hurt, and JJ Watt also got hurt. We're not talking about their defense. I mean, Buda Baker had that nasty injury as well. That knocked him out for like 2-3 games.
They lost Chandler Jones to the Raiders.
I did not. I forgot about that.
I forgot about it too until the exact moment I just said it.
That is crazy. I forgot about that. There's been so many big offseason. This is probably the craziest offseason in NFL history. And we talked about this before, but yeah, it's just it's insane. That defense, like, did they really get better? Did they get worse?
No, they got worse. The offense got better. The defense got worse.
And JJ Watt is there, but he hasn't played a full season in how long?
Has he ever?
Since his MVP season.
Yeah, that's about it. Yeah, it was been one defensive player of the year. There's a lot going on in Arizona. There's a lot to like, but when you have the division that you do, like we're talking about the Cowboys with Mike McCarthy being on the hot seat, they have a lot of wiggle room. They have a lot of room to not be perfect and still win their division. If the Cardinals have that same, if the Cardinals are in that same position where they're like, oh, we can afford to not take things as serious, we can have some wiggle room. If they try to have that mentality, they'd be third in their division. They were second in their division last year, almost said again, but they're in the position where if they drop below the 49ers, even if they make the playoffs, you're looking at Cliff Kingsbury like, what's going on? But I still expect them to be very good. So I'm very intrigued as to what happens with them the rest of the offseason because they've been really noisy. Kyler Murray, archiving every single Cardinals post he's ever posted, which was absolutely hilarious. That must have took a long time to do. They've been really noisy. I still expect them to be really good. Panthers, Sam Darnold, Baker Mayfield, what's going to go on there? And I forgot the first one. What was it? Trey Lance. Is he going to be worth it? I think so, but really, we'll find that out as time goes on, but They have officially moved on. We'll see what happens with Jimmy Garoppolo because he still has to find a home too.